In just over a 2-week period, both Steve Mira and myself, Barry Fitzgerald, travelled enough miles to take us completely around this planet, and then some, in an attempt to find answers. Scientific answers to finally solve that age-old question if we are truly alone in this universe. The results are in, and this is our story.
Yeah, okay, they never been there, but they're talking on behalf of
Right.
the person
The
who found,
information.
yes.
Es muy delicado porque es un asunto de huaquero.
Yes, it's very delicate to go there because they haven't got experience going there.
Okay.
We were determined to get as much information as possible.
¿Tá? Es el sitio.
Yeah, he said one of the more important point is the place where they found
Dicen-
that they can't say where it is.
That's
Dicen
okay.
que hay
Secret.
una energía electromagnética muy fuerte en la zona.
They say in that place where they found it, there is a very high electronic magnetic.
Y
Okay.
que no han tocado 10% del
And they
sitio.
didn't touch not even 10%.
Han visto entidades biológicas vivas.
And they also saw live biological células?
No, seres
Entities.
Right.
y de este tamaño,
And
40 centímetros
This size,
y de
size,
más de 2 metros,
and 2 meters.
que se han escapado en los
They
túneles.
escaped.
We wanted to know where they found this place and what was on the inside.
Más o menos a lo que indican, lo que han encontrado. Es un cerro y...
They found them a mountain, yes.
Es un bocarón como mino, ¿no?
It's like a
Hay que
cave
entrar y de ahí se
mine,
baja,
and then you
sería
have to
esto.
go down.
De ahí hay que bajar más o menos 2 metros.
Yeah, 2 meters,
Y
go
de ahí
down.
nuevamente ahí he encontrado que son varios túneles.
And then from there they found different tunnels.
Salones y túneles de varios niveles.
Different levels, tunnels with
Okay.
different levels.
The third and final individual from the internal circle of the Inkari Institute arrived at the meeting.
He said, no, esto no.
Hi.
Yeah.
Eduard
Steve.
Valenzuela
Nice to meet you.
es el responsable comunicación del Instituto Inkari.
The implications that this may have for world religions is also brought up in the meeting.
He believed that this is not a fraud, then it can change the world.
It could.
Yes.
Hay muchas implicaciones culturales, political, religious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pero eso nosotros no lo manejamos.
Yes, he said that there is many implications like political
It could
religions,
change- it could change the
and
world.
they don't want to be involved in that.
Okay.
What's the one is the
If
truth.
it's not a fake.
Yes.
Yeah, that is not
Yeah.
fake.
If it's not a fake.
If
Yeah.
it's not.
Siempre tenemos la duda nosotros.
Yes, they're always in doubt.
Our heads were left spinning from what we had been told, and there was the promise of obtaining even more information.
Bueno, es un placer, un gusto de recibirte aquí en Cusco, al Instituto Incari, que es una organización que hemos creado hace unos años atrás para realizar las investigaciones arqueológicas que realizamos aquí en Perú desde hace muchos años.
Can you tell me a little bit about the work that the Institute does and how far do you travel?
Bueno, nuestro grupo está dedicado a las investigaciones arqueológicas y solo eso, no tenemos nada de ufología y realizamos entonces investigaciones en la selva amazónica del sureste de Perú en busca de la presencia permanente de los incas en la selva amazónica y en busca de su principal centro de población, que se supone era una ciudad que se llama el Paititi y que los españoles buscan desde el siglo XVI.
And we can see obviously from around the room it's full of books, it's full of research, it's full of reports, projects, so you collect the archives and keep all the information. So more recently, over the internet, there's been some remarkable information that's been released in regarding some unusual bodies that have been discovered.
Han venido a tocar a este timbre
Knocked on the door, right?
con pequeños cuerpos,
Small bodies,
órganos
organs,
y
yes.
una historia loca.
And the most recent discovery, I assume, is Maria.
Eso, bueno, es no es realmente una momia porque tiene todos sus órganos, pero es un cuerpo que nosotros,
With all the organs, yes, so it's a
Sí.
body.
así que no podemos hablar realmente de momia.
Yes, because they initially said it was a mummy, didn't they? Yes.
Inicialmente
The
dijeron
internet.
que era una momia.
Sí,
Ya.
pero
No
es es un cuerpo que hemos descubierto en abril. Y en un primer tiempo esta vara de Incari estaba utilizada para examinarlos. Hemos tenido los cuerpos aquí.
Well, there's been a huge amount of interest recently over the internet worldwide in regarding the discovery of this body.
Sí.
And of course, numerous people have been also analysing it. Now, the most unusual thing about this body is that it's got only 3 fingers and only 3 toes.
Sí, casi todos los órganos, los cuerpos tienen esta particularidad
Sí,
de
todos
tener
estos
3
cuerpos
dedos.
tienen.
En la zona de Nazca hay una iconografía muy importante, muy interesante, donde se puede ver petroglifos así, o en los tejidos, o en la
Nazca.
cerámica,
With
personajes
yes,
que tienen 3 dedos.
3 fingers.
3 fingers and 3 toes.
Three
Now,
toes.
now, what is unusual about Maria is that she's covered in something that looks white.
Yes.
Does Thierry have any idea what that is?
Los
Right.
los pequeños
The
cuerpos,
small bodies,
los órganos, los cuerpos de los grises
the body of the grays.
habrían sido sacados de 2 sarcófagos.
Yes.
And are they the same color or white?
No.
Tenían
The gray,
los gris.
Los grises son grises, ¿no?
Sí,
No
pero
están cubiertos.
sí, tienen un polvo también.
He said that the grays, they have a slightly white.
También,
That one.
también los órganos.
Yeah, and it looks like in the past were taken.
Were taken.
Yes.
Okay.
That's one.
And we don't know what this white substance is
just
on the
the
body
white.
of Maria. We're waiting for analysis.
Y María habría sido sacado del suelo, del
Right.
suelo, habría sido
ground.
inhumado. No
Yeah.
lo han encontrado en un sarcófago.
So Maria may have been taken from one place and moved to somewhere else, and this may be something to do why she's covered in white.
Los vaqueros,
Yeah.
eso no me lo han dicho.
Okay, so we really don't know. We know
Not yet.
we know there's something, but we're not too sure. Analysis is taking
Yeah.
place. Was analysis taking place from their hands as well as the body?
Sí.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're waiting on information coming back from that.
Yeah.
Un detalle muy interesante cuando hemos examinado María,
One detail that they're going to say about
c'est que
Maria.
Wonderful.
de los pies tiene sus huellas digitales.
Okay.
Se puede ver sus
You can
huellas.
see. No, say you can see the digital.
The digits, the
Yeah,
fingers.
digits.
Así que si es un fraude, le voy a mostrar
Si eso es un fraude,
cómo se hace.
¿cómo se hace?
Si han cortado los dedos, ¿cómo puede tener sus huellas? Esos son los pies de María.
Right, yes.
The foot of Maria.
Sí, yeah.
Son los
Very long.
very, very long. And aquí
Yes.
son las huellas de los
Yeah,
pies.
They're very, very hard to fake, dermal ridges, as we know. Fascinating. Wonderful.
Sí,
Sí, increíble.
Incredible.
Entonces,
Yes, yeah.
si es un fake, si es un fraud,
si eso sería un...
¿dónde son los
¿cómo
cortes,
entonces,
etcétera?
¿Cómo lo han hecho, no?
¿Cómo lo han
Yes.
hecho?
Claro.
Now, looking at the feet,
O sea, mirando la
it doesn't
pintura,
look like Maria would have been able to walk
o sea,
very well.
Claro, es lo que podemos ver en estas fotos. Quizás no caminaba así, sino de esta manera.
Yeah.
No
O sea, no
sabemos.
flat,
Has anybody suggested that it could be amphibian? That they may have been webbed
Yeah.
feet?
No,
anything like that?
tiene palma.
pero algo...
No.
No, because they
No.
don't, no ears.
Porque no tiene oídos.
Sí.
O sea,
Yeah, okay. I was just
Perhaps,
curious
but,
if anybody had made a suggestion, because we're trying to find out what. Lots of people think that it might be extraterrestrial. This is the sort of thing that's on the internet.
Parece, María parece entre los humanos y los grises.
Yeah, Maria looks like between humans
A
and
mix.
grays.
Un
A
híbrido.
mix, a new breed.
Pero es una hipótesis.
Yes.
It is.
Hypothetical.
Yes, yes.
Y tuvimos la oportunidad
They have the opportunity
de examinar
to examine
un bebé híbrido
a baby
Right,
hybrid.
right.
que tiene también 3 dedos en cada
Also
mano.
has 3 fingers, 3 toes.
Y hay una posibilidad que
There is a
sea
possibility.
un hijo de María.
Is a-
Nosotros vamos a presentarlo y
Ellos lo van a presentar. They're going to present.
tratamos de difundir la información.
They try to let the world know.
Let the world know.
about this.
Buscamos el fraude,
Yes.
el
Try
fake,
to find a fraud or something.
Yes.
pero todavía no
No
hemos
yet.
encontrado la falla.
Yes. No.
Right. So now we'll talk. What we're getting to now, to the crunch and matter, is that there has been some other bodies located as well and discovered, and some of these bodies have. It's a being that seems to have a neck that can move up and down, just like the Steven Spielberg E.T., just as our people are saying, which is fascinating. But they believe that they are absolutely real. They're real, and they are referring to them as small beings, a bit like the alien greys that we hear of today. And again, a lot more information is need to come to light. But some of these bodies, this is a real important part. Some of these bodies have been put together, maybe manufactured by somebody, and we don't know who, and we don't know why. Has the Peruvian government been interested in trying to find out more?
Están preparando una respuesta a la conferencia del 11 para desmentir todo.
Yeah. The
Credible scientists apparently have done some work and are already confirming that there are some unusualities about this. Is there a press conference coming up, a press announcement coming up?
Sí, los canales de televisión van a venir. Hay toda una empresa de Lima que se ocupa de organizar esta conferencia.
We're getting close to this location where we're supposed to be being taken to. No idea where we are. It's a bit hard to actually talk. It's very thin, the air. We've been climbing for a good I don't know if it seems about 45 minutes an hour. I know we started off at 11,000 feet. God knows what we are at this moment in time. But we've been now instructed to turn our cameras off. What also was quite concerning is that we weren't allowed to bring our cell phones with us. And of course, that's a big concern, as you can well imagine. But we had to face the situation, and myself and Barry did have this discussion back earlier at the hotel. Should we pretty much just throw our cards in, put our tails between our legs, go back home and just not go through it, because it is a bit concerning, this. But we decided against that. We decided to, well, you know, what the hell, we're going to go for it. We don't know what we're going to be shown. We've been taken to a certain location. I have no idea where we are, but concerned, yes, absolutely concerned. Yeah, we will do. We are turning off the cameras now, and we'll see what happens.
With our high altitude trip over, we were escorted into a building we'd never seen before, and into a room where men waited in surgical dress. Within moments of our arrival, we too had to dress in the same surgical gowns and masks, and body after body was presented to us to film and document.
You can see the teeth. And what we've got here is the side of the skull showing the teeth, which could be obviously from fish. Doesn't look like human teeth. And you can see the rib cage. It looks like it's manufactured. The arm length down here to its lower than its knees, and of course the feet at the bottom. This is a side profile of that particular X-ray of the body, again confirming that this is in fact been manufactured. Yeah, they have like a gold implant. So what we're dealing with here is three hands, and what we've been told is that they seem to have some type of implant on top of them, and as we can see, we'll get some close-ups, but as we can see there is a design. It looks like it's gold in coloration, some type of pattern right across the bridge of the hand, and the same for this one. Looks like these two seem to have that marking and this one doesn't. But as you can tell from these, they're very similar, three fingers, and of course we're dealing with, again, a number of extra bones. We're dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they do look to have six with a six at the 6 is the tip. Okay, so what we're actually seeing here is one of the hands. This is representing this metal plate, implant, whatever you want to call it. As we mentioned earlier, it's gold in colour, it has some type of pattern to it, and it does feature on two of the hands. It's definitely visible throughout the X-ray. As for what that actually represents, if it's metal, what type of metal, that's currently unknown. Like I say, analysis is currently taking place. Samples have been taken, and you can see the 6 bones in the fingers. And what's very, very interesting is how these are actually put together here, how they're joined, and it looks like there's further bones as well. Now, anatomically, I'm no expert anatomically, but what I can say is that all these particular hands are all going to fall down to the analysis. The independent analysis that's taking place. Maybe secondary analysis might be necessary to confirm if this structure is in fact correct. So at this moment, it's open at the moment. We don't know. But what we do know is that we're waiting on analysis to come back to confirm if there's anything authentic about these particular hands. But what is interesting is these are significantly different than what we've just seen in that smaller body. There seems to be a consistent amount of bone and muscle that seems to be evident in the top part of this hand, as they are in the other two. I wouldn't really want to comment without the analysis confirming that these are actually authentic. But at the end of the day, if anything comes back from these hands that they are or have not been altered, well, it is what it is, as you can see. A hand may be of something which might actually be a new type of species or an old type of species, an unknown species for sure. We're looking at two skulls here, and as you can see, the biggest difference here is the elongation, because we've all seen skulls probably from monkeys before, and as you can see, the long elongation, which is something unusual, though they do have the size of from the front of monkey, but they're very large eye sockets. It does have this long elongation. Apart from that, it does seem to have some cranial ridges. We have a centre cranial ridge, and we have two cranial arches coming round on either side, and that's exactly the same for this one, which is almost identical, to be honest with you. There's not much difference between them. We are told that there's something that's inside of this, maybe a little part of the vertebrae, maybe a little bit of bone, but also on this particular one, what we can see is the first part of the vertebrae. As we can see here, we'll take some close-up shots of these, and probably similar in weight. Okay, what's interesting about these particular x-rays of the two skulls that we've just been looking at is that the first thing that is interesting, but I want you to know the elongation of these skulls, because this is one of the biggest mysteries about these skulls, is it's purely its shape and the cranial ridging. You can see from the cranial ridging, and you can also see what looks to be some type of membrane on both skulls as it's shaped at the back, and also you can clearly see the jawbone in there, but again, like I mentioned, no teeth. Looks to be large eyes, and we're not too sure what these are, what this represents in the scans, in these x-rays. It has been suggested that there may be some type of metal plates in there. It's a little bit unsure, not too sure. And you can see the centre position here to the vertebrae, and of course causing the skull to be able to be regularly balanced properly. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a secondary body, a little bit longer and larger than the first one that we saw tonight.
Steve thought it prudent to measure the body, which was 25.5 inches long, and at its widest point between the shoulders was a meagre 7.5 inches wide.
Now what's interesting is, from what we looked at earlier with the two previous small skulls, is that this looks to have the same type of skull that we've recently just seen, but in fact attached to the body in this occasion. And if we actually take a measure of this, now we know what we were measuring from last time, is that is coming in at 70 millimeters, which is roughly around about the same size as the previous two skulls, with the same type of cranial ridging, the large eye sockets, and we can see the central point from vertebrae and that long elongation of the head. It's also interesting to note that we've been told from the x-rays that have been carried out is that it looks to have a skeletal a neck which may have been adjustable, which may have got shorter and larger. It's interesting to note on its legs that its right hip joint seems to have what is referred to as an implant or some type of mechanism in there, similar to what you probably find in elderly people when they have some type of hip replacement or something of that degree. It's got I have to admit though, it's got a very, very unusual posture, because it doesn't look like nothing I've ever seen before, to be honest with you, the way this is designed here at the top. Very, very straight, very broad, very unusual rib cage. Again, like most of the other things that we've been seeing tonight, has this covering of this white powder. As to what that is still a mystery, and apparently waiting on analysis to come back to confirm what that consists of. So what we're seeing here on the X-ray for this particular body is an oversized clavicle bone here, as you can see across the tops here. Also, what is interesting is that it doesn't seem to have any ball joints to the top part of its arm, so we're not too sure how that would have actually moved or manoeuvred around. Also, what's interesting is that it looks like the bones are knitted, so which would suggest that it is in fact more of an adult than it is a child. And the absence of being able to fit lungs in, we have to ask the question, how did this creature breathe? There doesn't seem to be any evidence of a nasal passage either. So either this is a completely manufactured creature, or it may be something that we've so profound we don't know what it is, and it may not have required oxygen. It may not have been breathing oxygen. We just don't know. We can see obviously the obvious deformity in the hip, and what looks to be the X-ray capturing a metallic implant or something that's been placed in the hip to maybe strengthen it. It does look like there's an abnormality there. And of course the long neck as well. Very interesting, but really I've not seen anything that's really has grabbed me. But nevertheless though, we're going to have to wait for the analysis to come back to confirm is this any known creature at all. A bit of a mystery at this moment in time, but as for the X-rays, I'm not very convinced on this particular one, but who knows? We could be looking at something that we couldn't possibly fathom in our minds, or in fact something which has been again manipulated. So what we're dealing with here is a second body and looks more or less similar in size, though we are told that this represents a female of this species. Notice again the same size of the cranium, the same sort of arching and face features, central position on the vertebrae, slightly shorter neck in this case. But what is most interesting is that it looks like to be some type of implant there, which is metal, which we can clearly identify that on the X-rays. Not too sure what that is, but what also is probably the most significant thing about this is that it does look to have a raised stomach area, and apparently according to the X-rays it would look like there are 3, by all intents and purposes, eggs in there, indicating that this species, or whatever this is, may have been reptilian in nature. Nevertheless though, the only characteristical differences between these two is that one seems to have a more longer neck, and this particular one seems to have these metal implant, and of course this raised abdomen area where apparently it's housing 3, well, it looks like 3 eggs. Very interesting X-ray, this particular one. What we're actually looking at is what looks to be the implant, which is across this chest area, and also what looks to be the housing of 3 eggs. What's interesting, you can actually see the bone structures through the eggs. They are transparent somewhat, which is what you might expect from eggs being placed inside a body. You can see that the figure, the bone structure, seems a lot more complete in this particular X-ray. Again, doesn't look to be housing any lungs. And of course, if they are eggs, we have to question, would this be reptilian in nature? Would seem to be, according to the bone structure, that she is in fact an adult. So the absence of ball joints, again, in the lower part of the pelvis, again, are obviously missing. And it does have, again, the 3 fingers, which are very prominent, and the 3 toes. And of course, again, still remains a mystery. Okay, we're looking at the third body here, and of course its absence of a head, unfortunately. But what is probably the most interesting of all the 3 bodies is this particular one in a sitting posture, which gives us maybe some idea of, if this was a real creature, how it would have maybe moved around. Again, stereotypical here of the 3 fingers and the 3 toes, the sitting posture, what looks to be a vertebrae. And what's very interesting about this is that there does seem to be some form of skin. Also on top, We can see what looks to be the two side muscles holding the support of the neck muscles. Analysis has taken place on this. Two independent analysts confirmed, one from Mexico, one from the United States, that this is over 1,000 years of age. And as you can see from that sitting posture, you can see what looks to be like a vertebrae coming down. You can see the very clear bone structures throughout his arms, hands, legs, and of course feet. Not too sure at this moment in time if this X-ray represents if it has any visible boil joints here in its hips. It's currently unknown. Again, from its sizing and its position, probably around about the 24 inches size, like the other two bodies. Again, a mystery.
Suddenly everything changed as we were introduced to Maria.
So what we're actually looking at here is something completely in a different ballpark than what we've been shown earlier. By all intents and purpose, we're looking at a body estimated to be 1,800 years old, I believe, from the analysis that's currently taking place, and in a fetal position. Bone structure, anatomy, legs look reasonably normal, arms look reasonably normal, until we come to the extremities. The extremities seem to show only 3 digits, 3 toes, no thumbs. Of course, these acting as balancers. We can see that there's also, which is very interesting, toenails, which we can see on the toes. We've also got dermal ridging, like fingerprints on the bottom of the feet, possibly also on the hands. Samples have been currently taken. Now this is a female, was initially thought to be a male, referred to as Albert, or Alberto, but it is a female and now referred to as Maria. Estimated size around about 5'6". Currently there's analysis taking place, DNA analysis taking place to ascertain is she fully human or not. What we're actually looking at here, Barry, is of course the X-ray of Maria, who we've just been examining. Clearly massive differences here, massive differences. We can clearly see the ball joints, which is a very human trait, obviously, in arms and legs. We can clearly also see the vertebrae and the backbone, and this is the legs coming up in its sitting position, in its fetal position. And across here, very faintly, you can actually see the fingers, which you can see consist of 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 4 sections, slightly different than what else we've seen here, but nevertheless though extremely long, and they do look like connected bone as well. I can't see anything here that leads me to believe it's been anatomically altered in any way. But of course that's what the experts need to tell you, not myself. But at the end of the day, what is very interesting is that you can see how the hand has come across here and it's been x-rayed. I believe further x-rays are going to be taking place maybe tomorrow. We're looking at what looks to be human body, but the most obvious differences being the toes, being the fingers, and probably the anatomy of the actual hand and feet, because we've noted that there's a possibility that because the way the actual way the layout of the foot is, then it would seem that it may not have walked as a human being would probably have walked. doesn't look like would have had the same capabilities to do so. So its walking process may have been significantly different than anybody like you or me. We can see that her teeth quite relatively intact as well. Unsure of what age she approximately would have been when she'd actually died. You can obviously see the vertebrae here, the collarbone. Generally, she looks human by all accounts, except for one thing here. She's missing her earlobes, no ears, which is a trait often seen in amphibians like seals and sea lions. As to why she has no ears is a mystery. She does just have a hole either side. Thank you for talking with us, Jaime. I wanted to ask you, you've been at the front of this, the forefront, the front runner. You're the face of this discovery. How's it been for you?
I think the person who deserves this credit is Thierry Jamin, the French who got the bodies, who collected everything, who has had the courage to confront anything, to take the risk. As investigator, probably I helped to really make these news, these findings go through, to be known by the world, and to understand that this is something really extraordinary. And for me, has been probably one of the most important investigations of my life.
Mm. Well, we understand samples that you've taken with your team, amongst other people, but what is your personal opinion? What do you think this mummy is?
I think this mummy is something else. I don't know if it came from a different planet or not, but it doesn't look human. All the features you can see are really something extraordinary, like the big fingers in the hands with 5 phalanges, the fingers in the foot with 4 phalanges, are something that are not comparable to those of human beings. Also the head, if you see the head, is very big. If you see the bones in the arm, they are really separated, something very different that, from our own. And there are, I am very sure, so many more differences from human beings. Then this is not human. What is it? I don't know. Where it came from? I don't know. We will find out.
There's been a lot of international interest in regards to this find, but surprisingly and remarkably, it's been very quiet here in Peru. We believe the government have been trying to pressure and maybe keeping this quiet. You know, you called that. You went to the Ministry of Culture today. Can you say anything about how that meeting went?
No. I sent a letter and I asked for this meeting because we wanted to present them before the press conference all the information we had collected, all the evidences, all the scientists' analysis, and we couldn't do it. They said that we should send an email, and after a while they will answer to us. And I said, it's important you do it very fast because the bodies are in danger. The bodies are really being hurt by being outside. They need to be preserved. They say, yeah, sure, we will. But that was all. I know that the attitude of the government, the Ministry of Culture, is just to reject this finding. This is really disturbing because the real victim here is the truth. And I think that the truth should go to the world. The people around the world deserves the truth about this.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been led to believe that what's going to be discussed tomorrow at the first international press announcement, that the information could potentially not just change the planet, but literally, the whole universe. I mean, at the end of the day, the information has got to come out, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's the plan, to present this to the world, and the world will decide how good is this investigation, how good the evidences are. And they are trying to stop this because they are fearful that this could be truth. They will have to rewritten the books of history. Everything we know should change or could change. I don't know, and it seems that it's too much for many people, and that is why, even without the evidence, even without the bodies, even without looking closely to this discovery, they are saying that this is not true, couldn't be true, that is all.
If it is successful tomorrow, and we do manage to get this information out as best as we possibly can, do you think this is going to help the Ikari Institute to carry on their research and exploration?
Oh yeah, the attention of the world, if we can convince that we are honest, if we can convince them that there is no other interest than the truth, if we can convince the world that the evidences are real, then everything should change. And the Ikari Institute should attract all the attention from the world. And that is why I think tomorrow we will decide, or they will decide, or everybody will decide what is the future of humanity, because it is not just this discovery. If we cannot prove that these bodies are something else, then we won't be able to prove it ever. This is physical evidence. For the first time, it's in the hands of society, and they want to take it away from us. Don't you realize that? Don't you realize what is in play here tomorrow? I hope people will understand and will support this, because the evidences speak by themselves. You will hear the scientists, you will hear everybody that is around here, this investigation. You will see the documents of the investigation with carbon-14, with the DNA. You will find out how close we are to really understand that things are not like we have thought they were in the past. This is a different world, and the reality is very, very different than what we thought.
I think the timing tonight has been very coincidental for the government and a lot of scientists to come out tonight, just prior to the event tomorrow, to try and put their story forward and say it's all fake. But how can they do that if they've not seen or examined? How can they do that?
Because the scientists in Peru and probably around the world are very fearful. They organize an event today just to declare that our findings are a hoax, they are a fraud. They haven't seen them. They don't have the body. They don't have the x-rays. They don't have the CAT scans. They don't have anything. And besides that, they have not presented anything. There is not one single evidence, one single proof that backs their words. And this is amazing. I cannot believe what is happening here. I cannot believe people even think or listen to these people. For example, a taxidermist, the other they saying that, oh, there is a mafia in Peru that they are creating this kind of hoaxes. And because you came with Gaia and so on, then they made this mummy for you. Are we so stupid? Are we, so gullible that we will accept anything they give to us? Absolutely not. Before we say anything, we investigate it, and we were convinced that this is real. Otherwise, we wouldn't have presented. Estas son las únicas imágenes que tenemos. Quiero aclarar otra cosa. No conocemos el lugar. No hemos estado ahí. Esta es supuestamente la entrada al sitio. Estas son algunas de las partes internas. El ataúd donde se dice que estaban estas especies, porque también quiero decirles, son dos especies, no es una la que vamos a ver hoy, son dos. Y una es mucho más extraña que lo que ustedes han visto hasta el momento.
Bajen los teléfonos.
Les hemos llamado urpus a estos porque del quechua,
celulares,
perdón por la falta de ortografía, que no es mía,
celulares, teléfono.
que dice que el urpus en quechua es modelo de un humano, humanoide, animal o personaje de ficción. Se ha dicho en los últimos días, una persona llamada Paul Ronceros presentó estos cuerpos, que efectivamente nosotros lo descubrimos desde el primer momento de la investigación. Estos cuerpos no corresponden a un ser orgánico. De acuerdo a los científicos, si ustedes les podrán hacer las preguntas, estos cuerpos, como vemos aquí, tienen separación en las coyunturas muy extrañas, tienen una forma del cuerpo muy extraño como para ser considerados orgánicos. Nunca lo hicimos. Sin embargo, sí pensamos que son antiguos. De acuerdo a la persona que los encontró, fueron localizados en el mismo lugar, en la misma tumba. Es decir, que no son, como se señaló en un estudio, supuestamente, animales modernos. Eso es lo que dijo el Ministerio de Cultura. No existen los animales modernos. Todos los animales son antiguos. Además, si se trata de seres orgánicos o conglomerados orgánicos de huesos y de piel, entonces dicen que son modernos, sin haber realizado ningún análisis de carbono 14. ¿Cómo se puede llegar a una conclusión tan definitiva? Porque esto ya lo han declarado que no es patrimonio nacional. Señores peruanos, lo están perdiendo. Yo me lo puedo llevar hoy a México, porque esto ya no es patrimonio nacional, esto es una artesanía. Entonces, si es así, lo están perdiendo. Creo que es un error. O sea, simplemente por una actitud visceral o de estar en contra de esto, creo que se está cometiendo un grave error. Estas son las manos tridáctilas que encontramos con, si ven ustedes, con implantes. Estos implantes deben de ser estudiados. Estos implantes, nadie ha hablado de ello, pueden ser tecnología, parece que son de oro, no estamos seguros. Aquí tenemos estas manos tridáctilas. A esta, ¿por qué está cortada? Porque no hay más remedio. Son 3 manos. Una de ellas tuvo que ser sacrificada para obtener los análisis que ahorita voy a mostrar, que nos dan una antigüedad de varios miles de años de estas manos. No sé si también quieran decir que se las cortamos a otras momias y también las rearmamos. No nos han todavía acusado de ello, pero pues a lo mejor pronto lo van a hacer. Además, respondo cualquier acusación, porque para hacerla van a tener que demostrar que lo que decimos no es verdad. Aquí está una de las radiografías, podemos ver claramente que tiene un implante. Pueden ver ustedes hasta 6 falanges perfectamente ordenadas, perfectamente de tamaño. Aquí ni el mejor cirujano de mano del mundo hubiera podido hacer esto. Aquí pueden ver ustedes las partes del metacarpo. Ya los especialistas, yo no soy, les dirán. Otra mano es precisamente la que se usó para las muestras, donde se ven todos esos detalles. Vean ustedes, aquí parecen ser reales, ¿verdad? También encontraron, el señor Thierry Amin nos presentó estas cabezas, que son también muy extrañas, son de seres pequeños, son orgánicos, confirmado. ¿Y esto qué es? No son artesanías, estas son cabezas exactamente como se encontraron. Es de una de las 2 especies, de la cual vamos a hablar más extensamente en un segundo. Como ven ustedes, existen muchos detalles. Por favor, pregúntenle al doctor Edson, él fue el primero que las investigó. Los doctores José de Jesús Salce, científico forense mexicano del más alto nivel, no es ningún ufólogo, ni tampoco lo es el doctor José de la Cruz Ríos, biólogo con más de 15 años de experiencia. Aquí vemos también las radiografías de estas cabezas. No quiero abundar en detalles, no me corresponde. Simplemente estas son las evidencias de las 2 cabezas, que tienen muchas razones por las cuales hablar de ellas y encontrar exactamente qué son.
We've recorded our findings and boarded our flight back to the UK, leaving behind a black market of bribes, grave robbing and deceit. Although we can sympathize with the Peruvian government in its attempts to suppress the hemorrhage of ancient artifacts, we strongly disagree with the way it tried to discredit the mummified remains before any tests had been confirmed. So it comes to this. Strong scientific analysis and results are necessary to prove or disprove the claims posed by both camps. The results need to be viewed by the world and not a back alley boardroom where possible life-changing discoveries such as these can easily be buried again. We have the results. We are going to tell the world, and we are going to expose the truth.